my goodness. Thank you all so much for being here. This is so cool. I have actually just been sitting here watching some of the comments go by and seeing all of the good vibes and everything else. Thank you guys so much for all the congratulations. When I first started YouTube, I literally never dreamed of 50,000 subscribers and beyond. And now I'm sitting here like, well, maybe that silver play button is not so far away because you never know what can happen when you put your passion out there. I am blown away by the support. And I just want to start by just saying thank you so much for all the amazing support. Everybody who comes back every week to watch the videos, everyone, whether you've just joined or you've been around since 2018, it just means so much to me. What we're going to do today is mostly we're going to answer some questions that were sent in. So I had put for the last couple of videos, I'd been putting a form for people to submit questions. And I have so many questions. There were a lot that I don't think I can probably get to everything, but I'm going to try to sort of rapid fire some answers. It's good practice for Publish and Thrive because when we do Publish and Thrive, we have a live 2-hour Q&A and it's always like 10 to 12 pages of questions and I'm just kind of rapid firing them. So here we go. The other thing that we are going to do is I have multiple giveaways for you guys, and we're going to do some of them will be giveaways that will happen right here for those of you that are here live. And there's going to be a few giveaways that everybody can enter, whether you're live or you're on the replay. So that's going to be super fun. So just to let you know, I think that I was able to edit this live stream and the links should be down below already. But if not, they will appear as soon as the live video is over. There are two live, not live, but replay giveaways that you guys can enter. So the first one is going to be a craft book bundle. And this is going to be a bundle of 10 of my favorite craft books in paperback that I will be sending out to you. And I didn't list which craft books because I'm going to wait until the winner wins and I find out what craft books you might already own. And then we can move forward and figure out which other 10 craft books you would like to receive. And this is open internationally. As long as I can ship to you somewhere from the United States, I will send those out to you. The second giveaway is kind of a YouTube starter bundle. It's going to be a snowball, like a blue, it's not a blue snowball, I think is what's called, blue snowball microphone, which is a great microphone that a lot of people use for podcasts and stuff like that, as well as a stand with a ring light so that you can get started with your phone and you'll have a good microphone to use. So that is the second giveaway for anybody who's been looking to do your own live streams or your own YouTube channel. So those two are in the description box. There's a raffle copter link that you can just go and fill out. And all you have to do to enter is to leave a comment here on YouTube and say you did it, and that'll be great. So that is for the giveaways that are open for everybody. There's going to be 3 giveaways throughout this live stream, and I wanted to go ahead and give one away just for those of you that are here right in the beginning. Oh my gosh, we have almost 300 people here already. So the first giveaway, just because the whole reason that I started YouTube is because I have been an author since 2010. Well, actually, I've been writing since 2007-ish. But I have, I was an author for a long time without a YouTube channel, just a Facebook group and, that kind of thing. But I had so many people that were constantly asking me, how did you do this? How did you do this? When I first started self-publishing back in 2010, most people were saying things to me like, you're making a huge mistake. Nobody's ever going to make money selling self-publishing books. You are ruining your career. You should go traditional publishing. Only people who can't make it are the ones who could self-publish. And as we all know, hindsight from 2022, they were wrong, everybody who said that, because there are so many people who have been successful self-publishing their books or being hybrid publishers or anything. Yes, best mistake ever, right? But after I started finding success, so if you've watched some about my story before, my very first year, full year of self-publishing, I made over $50,000 that first year. And so a lot of people started to take notice in my community of how did you do that? What happened there? And so I started presenting to RWA groups and things like that. And just kind of people would send me emails. Hey, can you tell me how you did this? And a lot of writers would write into me and say, how do I write a book? I've always wanted to get started. And so I ended up spending a lot of my free time in Facebook Messenger, in email, talking to people in person at conferences about how to get started self-publishing, how to write books. And then people started asking me about my planners. And so I spent a lot of one-on-one time talking to people about that stuff. And it was my husband, George, who is ever the voice of wisdom in my life, who said, you really should just start a YouTube channel where when somebody asks me, how did you get started? You have a video that you can say, hey, here's how you do it. And so that was a big part of where my YouTube journey started, was just deciding it was supposed to be a way to save time. So that I wasn't spending all this time in personal chat, but it actually has just become a second career for me. And I absolutely it's changed my life. And all of you have changed my life. So thank you for that. And it has been a true privilege to have this YouTube channel. And I remember watching some other people who had AuthorTube channels, not George the cat. We haven't actually seen George the cat in a couple weeks. So that's a story for tomorrow's live stream. But yeah, I honestly was looking at people who had 10, 20,000 subscribers and thinking, oh my gosh, I'll never get there. But thank goodness I have this platform and I can start a small channel and hopefully make a difference and point people to the things that I love. Because I had a lot of friends that used to call me an indie publishing evangelist because I'm so passionate about it, and for planning, a plan evangelist. And I talk about it so passionately. So I, truly am just blown away by 50,000 subscribers. And I had planned to do this live stream earlier. And of course we were moving and everything else. So now by the time we've made it, we're already at 53.3 thousand subscribers. So this is just amazing. And the fact that it continues to grow gives me hope that maybe someday I could hit that 100,000. Like, why not? Let's do it. So, if everybody who was on my channel invited one person to come join, then we would get there. So feel free to share the channel if it has made a difference. But thank you for all the comments that are saying that it has made a difference for you. It truly means a lot. Yes, LA, it's like, I never expected that would lead to teaching courses and other things, but it just has all grown organically. And it's just been such a huge blessing in my life. So I also wanted, before we do the questions, to mention some people ask, where does heart breathings come from? Like, what a weird thing. And it's a lot of people actually say heart beatings instead of breathings, or heart breath. I've seen people say that. I've seen people call me that breather person, which I'm fine with that too. It's funny because I ended up getting a tattoo for each of my big careers. When I first started to self-publish, just before I started writing my first self-published book, I put the word believe on my body because I wanted to believe in myself, that I wasn't going to wait for a publisher to tell me I was good enough or that my story was right for them. I was just going to believe in myself and put a book out there into the world. And then when I decided, I hadn't quite decided to do my YouTube channel yet, but I have always loved the quote, the Wordsworth quote, fill your paper with the breathings of your heart. And so for my 40th birthday, I went to Las Vegas. I had been following a tattoo artist, a female tattoo artist there for a long time. And I actually got that phrase, that quote, tattooed on my body with this beautiful quill feather. And there are some secret things inside this tattoo about my books, some little symbols and things like that. And it was just a reminder to myself to not get so hung up on the comparison and the sales numbers and equating my worth with how many books I was selling, and instead to really focus on filling my paper with the breathings of my heart, like filling my paper with things that I loved, that I was passionate about, the things that I really wanted to write that would make me happy, instead of focusing on how I'm going to make money. And, you know, we all know, if you've been trying to be a professional writer, that there has to be some sort of look at strategy and how you're actually going to make a living doing this. But at the same time, if you turn your back on what you truly love and who you truly are, you're never going to find fulfillment no matter how much money you make. And I know that if you're making no money, you could look at me and be like, that's a lie, just bring me the money. And maybe that'll be fine for some people. But for many of us, even if you make money, it's going to feel hollow unless you're really pouring your heart into that work and you truly love it and you feel passionate about those characters. And that is just where I stand with it. That's my true belief about authors. And so I had this tattooed on my body. Fun story that it's kind of hard to show, but I had it. I flew to Vegas twice. And the first time I went, she got the flu and she couldn't do the tattoo. So we just enjoyed our time. And then we flew back. I flew back for my 40th birthday. And after I got this tattoo, I went to a Britney Spears concert and probably overdid it. And I passed out. I think because it was so many hours under tattoo. Whew. So yeah. There's a fun story for you. But anyway, since this all got started off of my writing career, the first giveaway that I'm going to do for those of you, if you have not made a comment, just even leave a heart emoji if you can. And I know I did turn on subscriber only comments. So if you're not subscribed, please subscribe so that you can comment on the next live stream, just to keep anybody out that was going to say something to try to distract me. So, go ahead and leave a comment if you'd like. But the first giveaway will be for a sort of a set of all of the first books in my series. So this will be The Trouble with Goodbye, which is the beginning of my Fairhope series, the Beautiful Demons, the book, Death's Awakening, and a couple others in paperback. So I'll be sending those out signed to you, along with a poster of Beautiful Demons and a full ebook set of all 11 books in the Shadow Demon Saga in ebook. So it's a paperback, ebook, poster, collab like set. So I'm literally just going to close my eyes and just pick the first person that comes up. So Ruby Diaries, you are the winner of that. We'll call it the Sarra Cannon book set. So all you have to do to claim your prize, if you win one here on the live stream, is just email me at sarah@heartbreathings.com, and Renee will put that up on the screen for you. Or you can email her at teamsarah@sarracannon.com, either one, and just let us know your full name and address, and we'll get that sent out soon. So, all right, let's dive into these questions. I'm assuming this will go about an hour, but truthfully, we could probably talk for many, many hours about these contests. Will you be giving away your Christopher Pike collection? Do not touch my Christopher Pike collection. Did you guys see that the Midnight Club is going to be a TV show? We'll have to talk about this tomorrow too. No, I am not giving away that Christopher Pike collection, but I do truly, truly love it. Okay. Also, just for those of you that don't know, if you've ever wanted to support me, if you're like, oh, I wish I could give back to her, definitely go ahead and grab my free book set, which is the Beautiful Demons box set. It's the first 3 books in the Shadow Demon Saga, and it's totally free, and they're all linked down below. So just go grab them. And that's one way to support me, even if you don't read them. But if you do read them, just be prepared for every single day to be buying another one, because they are a little bit addictive. So I keep saying for tomorrow. So every Friday over on my Sarra Cannon channel, which is just youtube.com/Sarra Cannon, I do a live chat, a live stream every single Friday, almost every Friday. So if you want to come join us over there, we have over 8,000 subscribers on that channel. And we talk about books and all kinds of fun stuff. So come join us over there if you would like. So I kind of went through the questions that were asked ahead of time and arrange them into categories. So the first one is just YouTube. I had some questions for YouTube. So Jackie asked, how do you start a YouTube channel? What are the first steps you would do if you were doing it all over again? So, all you need is a Google Gmail to start a YouTube channel, and it's free to start it. And then all you need is a phone to record yourself. If you have extra things like, a special webcam that you like to use. I recorded almost all of my videos when I first started out on a Mac, on an iMac webcam, or on my phone. And that it totally works. I have since upgraded my cameras, but I still don't know how to use them perfectly every time. So I still sometimes record on my phone. And I just think that one of the main things to remember is not to hold yourself back because you're waiting for it to be perfect. I delayed on my YouTube channel for probably a good year or longer. And I wish I had just started it when I first had the idea of it, because I was waiting to be thinner. I was waiting, thinking like, oh, I don't have perfect teeth. I have messed up teeth. I need to get braces first. I need to lose weight. I need to get a perfect background. I got to have the perfect, setup and everything else. I used to, and still do sometimes, watch Marie Forleo, if you're familiar with her. And she always has these like perfect sets, and her hair is perfect and her outfits are different every time. And I had this idea that I had to do that to be successful on YouTube. And it was really just self-sabotage and holding myself back. So really, my advice would be just start where you are, but also find a sweet spot between what you most want to talk about and what people want to listen to. So this is the same thing that's true for books or TikTok or anything that you want to get started on, YouTube, Instagram, anywhere. If you can find the sweet spot between what you're passionate about and what you have to share with the world and what people actually want to listen to, it's like I could sit here and do YouTube videos just on this single pin, but like not that many people are going to be interested in 1,000 videos about one single pin. But if you start talking about your pin collection and all the different ways that you like to use pins, now you've got something people are interested in. So find that place between what you love and what other people are going to like, how you can really serve other people. And that's another thing to really think about, is don't focus so much on yourself, but focus on what other people will want from you. What do you have to offer from them? Because I'll talk about this a little bit more in another question. Actually, I'll keep going because this kind of goes to the next question. But in terms of actual like strategy, it's really helpful to have like 4 or 5 videos pre-recorded that you can launch them, so that you don't have to like do one video this week and then you're learning it again next week. Somebody gave me that advice earlier on, like do 5 or 6 videos and record them all and get them all edited before you start publishing your first video. And that was huge because it was a big like kind of baptism by fire moment of just jumping in and figuring out how to do the edits. And then I felt like I knew what I was doing and I was able to post those and then try to stick to a regular schedule. But don't let perfectionism hold you back. Melissa said, how long did it take to grow a large enough audience on YouTube to turn it into a revenue stream? So I started this channel in February 2018, and I got in July that year. So February, March, April, May, June, July, I hit 1,000. So it took me 5 months to hit 1,000 subscribers. And by August, I was approved for the monetization and I started making a little bit of money. And by a little bit, I mean like maybe $30 a month to start bringing in revenue. And then, I was trying to think when HB90 actually started, because I think that HB90 actually started as a 3-day course that was $99 that fall, because it all just happened very quickly. People kept asking me, what's those boards in the back? And so I was like, I'm going to make a course and teach people about it. And when that started happening, I think I made like $10,000 from that course the first time it launched. And so that was like immediately the beginning. So it was Q4. Thank you. Is that when you took it? Right. So Q4 of 2018. And that was really my first year of revenue, was that like $10,000 plus a couple hundred on YouTube. And really that was kind of the sweet spot for me. Is like, even now, I think this month I've made $1,000 from YouTube AdSense, which is a great supplemental income for sure, but it's not a full-time income. Affiliate type stuff, somebody asked a question about this later, so I kind of answered it now, but affiliate income from like Erin Condren or some of those things might bring in a couple $100 a month. And so that together is a good revenue stream, but it's really like the courses and things like that that really bring the money up, right? And I was debating on whether to announce this or anything. So I am actually getting very, very close to having made $1 million on my courses. And it feels really good to be able to say that, because if you've watched my channel for a while, you know that I have made over $1 million writing books. And so to have a second career, that it's not like I've made it in 1 year, it's been spread over many years, but it's just the fact that support is there and that I know that I'm making a difference it just means the world to me. So I wouldn't be here without all of you, and I appreciate that. Kirsten said, how long or how do you get rid of the fear of being in front of the camera? I love watching writing vlogs and I would love to record some for myself, but I'm shy of appearing on video. Am I too old? I'm 50 and am I not in a good enough shape? Would I even be interesting to others? These are the questions I ask myself. Currently, I'm convinced I'm just not the right person for doing writing vlogs or streams, but then again, I would really love to do them. How did you overcome your fears? So this is so like relevant because I think we all have those kinds of fears. I told you just now, I had that same fear. I'm too this, my teeth are all messed up and they're still not fixed. They're still messed up. Even after 50,000 subscribers, literally just posted a video yesterday that was vlogging. And the whole way through the editing, I'm thinking, I can't post this. I look terrible. Look at my hair. It's all like, looks terrible. I haven't had my hair done in so long. My face has, like, I kept thinking I look awful. I cannot post this. And so one of the ways that I get over that fear is just understanding that I don't see myself clearly and saying to myself, you don't see yourself clearly. You are harder on yourself than anyone else will ever be, and focusing instead on, is this video, is telling this truth about not being able to follow through on my plan perfectly, is this truth going to help someone? If yes, then I have a duty to post it and I'm not going to worry about what anybody else thinks. If they think I look ugly or fat, then let them think that and move on with your life, but understanding kind of who you are and what you have to offer people is so important. And, I wish that I could stop being negative, but it's just something stuck. Yeah, we see our flaws magnified. And it is so true. Like I'm 45 and there are times I'm not going to mention a specific YouTuber, but there is a YouTuber who's an author tuber who has more than 200,000 subscribers. And every time I see her, I'm like, why can't I be young and beautiful, And instead I have to stop and be like, wow, look at the great work she's doing in the world. And I also am doing great work in the world. And it's not that there's something wrong with me. It's just that she is rising and my time to rise is here too. And it's okay. And really moving to a place of, instead of comparing myself, because if you go and look at, you're looking for ways that you're not going to match up, you're always going to find it. You're always going to find the examples of people that are younger or doing it better. But you know what? There's probably a lot of writers out there who would love to see somebody who's 50 years old that has a family or has a full-time job. You've got a story, you've got a situation that other people don't have. And so showing your perspective is valuable. And there's room for everybody to be successful. So I think it's important. Yeah. Be what you want to see on the internet, not always what's there. You're never too old for this. And in fact, you have a perspective that other people won't have, which is valuable. Okay. So moving on to some career questions about my career specifically. Someone said, what made you want to be a writer? So, really and truly, it was just that I was not a popular girl in school. I always wanted to be, but I was never popular. And I lived outside of our small town in the middle of the woods. And we had 5 years between my sister and I, and she was not really a friend to me when I was younger. And so I was really lonely a lot. And so I spent a lot of time reading, and I fell in love with books probably when I was about 6 or 7 years old and realized this is a world away from my world. And I had this tree that was like bent, and I used to sit in that tree and just read all the time. And that made me want to be a writer, because I thought, man, if I could create worlds like this, like you can literally create anything out of your imagination, and you can make people feel things, and you can transport people. And I fell in love with that when I was very young and wanted to recreate that for other people. And hopefully I'm able to do that. And I love it. Candace said, what did you do before YouTube? And what was your aha moment when you realized you could successfully become a self-publishing author? So for me, my self-publishing came far before my YouTube channel. So I started self-publishing in 2010. And my aha moment with self-publishing was really before it was such a thing to do. But Amanda Hawking, which hopefully some of you are familiar with her, she started out self-publishing and then moved to traditional publishing. But she was a young adult author with a vampire series that was doing very well on Kindle. And I was like, man, who is this person? What are these books? And I started to understand that like you didn't have to get a publisher. You could just put your books on ebooks. And even though a lot of people didn't have e-readers yet, I thought this is the future. And yay, I was right to a degree. And my aha moment was getting a rejection from an agent that I had been like just begging the universe to give me this agent. And she sent me a rejection letter that said, basically, I love your voice. You're such a talented writer. However, this story is not right for me. And, resubmit something when you have something different. And I thought, oh, man, I don't want to spend. I had friends at the time who had spent years, if not decades of their life trying to write the right story for a publisher. And I thought, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to write a story for readers. And that's when I got this tattoo and I wrote Beautiful Demons, and the rest is history. So that's what I did before YouTube. Before I started writing, I was a teacher. I was a music teacher. And before that, I got a degree in opera singing. So that's kind of my past, but that's sort of that story. Kaylee said, what do you consider your biggest failure of your career, and what have you learned from it? So I like to not think that I've had any failures. I just like to think I've had lessons. And I know that can sound kind of cliche, but really nothing is a failure if you learn from it and you move forward. So it's good that you asked, what have you learned from it? I would trying to come up with a short way of saying this, since we're already 25 minutes in, is that, I wrote the Demon series up to book 6, and I really needed a break and wanted to do something different. And at that time, new adult was becoming something big, right? My tattoo says believe, and then this one says fill your papers with the breathing of your heart. I was like, okay, I maybe want to, like, I have a story that matches new adult, and new adult was really popping, like huge trend, #1 New York Times bestselling. This is when Colleen Hoover really took off. And I thought, I have a story that fits this genre, and I really have wanted to write it for a long time. So I'm going to switch from my witchiness and I'm going to write this book, The Trouble with Goodbye. And that book was a huge, like, I would consider success in my career, because I really poured my heart into it and it did really well. But by the time I published that book, new adult had started getting really sexy, and there was a lot of sex on the page. And I don't write a lot of sex. And so by the time I published my book, it was good and it was in the trend, but it was just shy of the mark of the trend. And I'm talking about the trend started in December, and by May, it had already shifted to being sexier books. That's how fast trends can change sometimes. So that's also a warning not to write to trends unless you can write super fast. And that book did really well. It was the closest I had ever come to hitting the USA Today bestseller list on a release, but it didn't do as well as I had wanted it to. And so I listened to some of my other friends that said, well, book 2 needs to be really sexy. And I hadn't even been planning on writing a book 2, but I was like, okay, I'm going to write a book 2 and it's going to be really sexy. And so that second book, The Moment We Began, starts with a sex scene. And I tried to write a real alpha male jerk hero, because that was what was really popular, right? And I did the best I could with it, but it's like the whole way through writing that book, I knew the beginning wasn't really me. And it eventually found its way to being a Sarra Cannon book anyway, because in the end, you have to really write yourself. You have to write true to yourself, but it didn't hit the trend. And in fact, it not only did it not hit the trendy stuff, it also alienated the readers that loved The Trouble with Goodbye. And I would say this is one of my biggest like learning failure type thing, because a lot of people really connected with The Trouble with Goodbye because it's a very emotional, raw story. And when they picked up The Moment We Began, they were looking for a story that made them feel the same way. And because it starts out so rough and tumble, I think a lot of people gave up on it. So even though I will say The Trouble with Goodbye is one of my biggest failures, that book has sold 42,000 plus copies. But the problem is that a lot of people didn't move on to the next book because they just didn't get the same feeling. Whereas if I had just followed my heart instead of listening to people telling me to write something different, and me chasing the success and the spotlight, if I had not sort of compromised myself in that way, I would have potentially had a huge hit of a series. And it was a successful series, but it wasn't as successful as it could have been. And that's something that was a huge lesson for me to learn. Trudy asks, what is your biggest win in your career so far? Which I thought was funny because biggest failure, biggest win are good questions. So Shadow Demon Saga finishing up. I'm working on the 12th book, and I feel like when this is done, regardless of how many copies it sells or how well it does, that will be one of the greatest accomplishments of my life, to have written a 12-book series with spin-off stuff, because it's just hard. And it was really, it's going to be one of those things. But other than that, I think it's hard to point to any one thing and be like, that is the most successful thing. My latest book release hit #1 at Apple, like in the whole Apple store, and Apple called me to say congratulations. That was a pretty big win for me. But really, I hope that my biggest wins are ahead of me. We'll just say that. So Maz says, what do you know now that you wish you'd known back at the beginning of your career? And if you were able to make different choices about anything, what would it be and why? So one thing is, I wish that I had either known, and I still kind of wish that I knew, that I'm worthy and valuable regardless of the sales numbers. I wish someone had told me, like, it's not going to just be an all, like, when you hit a milestone, you're there for the rest of your life. I think that I naively thought that once I had gotten to making $1,000 a month, I would always be guaranteed to make $1,000 a month, or that once I had hit a certain level of success, that every book would do better than the last. And that's just not the trajectory of a writing career, for anybody's writing career. And that can be an emotional roller coaster of, like, you want each book to be not only better craft wise than the one before, but also to do better and to have more sales and more people loving it than the one before. And you want them to continue to do well forever. And I wish that I had just known, or had someone to tell me, like, it's okay to have a book not do as well as the others. It's okay to have ups and downs on this journey. And it doesn't mean that just because you're in a down point, that that's where you're going to stay forever. And so I think it's just important to understand that there are going to be ups and downs, and none of it means failure, and none of it means that you're worthy or better than you were before. It's just numbers. It's just sales numbers. And just keep believing in yourself. That's kind of what I wish I had known. But in terms of, like, what would I change, other than the moment we began kind of thing that I was talking about, another thing that I would I would change is not starting so many different series. A big thing that I did was, whenever I got into a hard part with the series, is I would go looking for something else that felt fun and fresh. And so I would start a new series. And then I got to a point where I was writing 5 different series at a time. And because I'm not a super fast writer, it really just killed all my momentum. And so one of the things that I try to teach, especially like in Publish and Thrive, is trying to build a single series in a single genre, rather than, popcorning all around. And even if you need to write other stories, maybe not, like, maybe keeping your writing separate from your publishing strategy, so that's, I could have a lot more to say, but start less series all at once. Stop publishing so many series all at once. Books and Butterflies says, have you ever had fears about sending your story to beta readers? And if so, how did you overcome this? So yeah, I get nervous every time, even though I have the same beta readers that I've had for years and I love them. I always get nervous because I know that if they don't like it, I have to change the story. Now, that may not be true when you're working with a beta reader for the first time, because you kind of have to get to know whether that beta reader is going to help you or not. So I have a lot of questions about beta readers. So I think I should do some more videos on that, because I do have a lot to say and some tips on that. But because I've been with my beta readers for so long, it's like, I know that they know my writing, and I know that if they're disappointed in a story, all of my readers will be. And so that is a fear. But in the end, overcoming it is, you just have to do it, because this is the path forward. And without feedback, there's no way to publish, right? you're setting yourself up for failure if you don't have somebody looking over it ahead of time that gives you a little bit of feedback. I think the kids are going to hang out. Come hang out and say hello. You want to say hi?
Saying hello.
You're hanging out and saying
1,000 subscribers.
Yay!
Yay!
Andrew is going to be 10 on Sunday, so he's doing a little 50K dance for me. Evie's going to come say hello. So I am literally still on page 1 of 5 pages of questions. So we're definitely not going to make it through all of them. So maybe we'll have to do another live stream. Evie, you want to come say hi?
Yeah, I want to sit on your lap.
Okay, come sit on my lap and say hello to everybody. Say hi.
Hi.
What are you going to say to Bubby?
So we have Bubby's computer.
Mm-hmm.
We have Mommy's room here. When Mommy would live in here.
Yep, Mommy's live. So yesterday I left I have a little DJI Pocket
And
Creator, which is like a little
we have something right there.
she's going to show you everything. I have this little camera and she's not supposed to touch it because the first one I had, she broke it by putting it in her mouth when she was teething. So this one, I come walking downstairs yesterday and she's got it. And I said, "What are you doing?" And she says, "I'm living."
What are you doing?
I'm living.
Why did I break the next one?
Yeah, please don't break the next one. I feel like these kids are growing up live on YouTube just about, because Andrew was 5 when I started my YouTube channel, and now he's turning 10. He was 5.5, and Evie was born while I was doing YouTube. So it's all been a process, right?
Now I'm a big girl.
Yeah.
I'm
Or
big.
was he 5 or he was 6? No, he was 6. He was 6 years
I was
old.
8.
Almost 6. He was turning 6 that year.
I thought I was 8.
You thought you were 8?
I want to do living
You
again.
want to do living? Okay, well, Mommy's going to keep answering questions, and then maybe you can come see me at the end, okay?
No.
No?
I want to stand with you.
Come here, we gotta do something upstairs. Okay?
No!
She doesn't want to leave. She wants to be live with you guys. Okay, so Ulrika said, "Are you planning to make games as you are a gamer, where your books are the story?" So I don't have any specific plans on creating games from my work, but I'm always open to fun ideas. So you never know. I don't have any plans for it, but she does say, "Are you planning to make and sell audiobooks?" I hope so. And my answer is definitely yes. So I would like to record some of my own audiobooks. However, getting the right space and the right room set up and finding the time for it has been the challenge, but I really would like to do it. And I've had so many people ask. I probably will start with the Witch's Key series, since I read that live on YouTube originally anyway. And since it's only 1 book so far, so that's kind of the plan there. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with all 4 pages of these, since we only have about 20 minutes. But I think what I'll do is I'm just going to start picking some of the random questions and I'll just apologize in advance that I won't get to everything that was asked ahead of time. But if you guys do enjoy this, then definitely let me know, and maybe we can do more of these. Also, like I said, I do go live every Friday on my Sarra Cannon channel for an hour. So that would be another good way to get some of these questions in. Although I also don't always get, those in. When does the Evie channel start? I know listen, Andrew has his own YouTube channel. And Evie probably will want them now too. So it's so funny. All right. So Anna asks, "Have you ever thought about writing a craft book?" So I do have a lot of ideas for craft books. One of them I thought, based on the very first RWA, like big conference workshop I did, called The Writer's Guide to Getting It All Done, talking more about the like the HB90 type method, but how, like, really getting into the nitty gritty of the mindset of how you follow through on a plan. So that is one idea. But then I also had some people suggesting to me that I write a book on how to write a series, because there are so many books on plot, like that are written about plot, that don't talk about writing a series. And I actually reached out to a couple of different authors saying, "Could you please do a book on writing series instead of this?" And every single author responded and said, "I have never written a series." And I started to understand that a lot of the people that write craft books write standalones, and they I don't know. It's like we need Brandon Sanderson to write an entire book on how to write a series, but it's like I think that there's a lack of really good information on how to structure a series, which I think would be something that I could really talk about, since will be by the end of this year or next year have finished multiple series, 4 different series. So that may be something. Holly said, with a series that's 12 volumes almost long, how did you plot it? Did you plot it to its end, or did you plot each book individually, never knowing how it would finish? Or perhaps did you have a general overview of what the outcome would be, but each book was plotted separately? So I thought it was going to be a trilogy, and that was wrong, obviously, because the story just continued to grow. So by the end of book 3, I understood there was a lot more to tell in the story. And then by the end of book 6, I kind of had a completed series, but I didn't plot everything ahead of time. And in fact, there's a lot of things that come around, like things that get revealed in book 1 or 2 that become important in book 6. And that was all stuff that happened as I was writing the current book. So during book 6 is when those revelations came to me, and I did not have it pre-planned. And now that I'm working on book 12, there's more stuff like that, almost as if some part of me knew that it was going to be important later, but that I put it into the story and didn't know. So I definitely did not plot ahead of time. But I would say by the time I started book 7 in the series, I knew where I was going with the ending. But I just didn't know how I was going to get there. So it's a combination of both. Andrea asks, when do you plan to revamp Publish and Thrive course? And for the alumni, when do you see that being complete? So I have planned to redo the Publish and Thrive course from the beginning for the past year, and have been trying to find the time. It's a huge, huge project. I mean, it's hours and hours of video content. And so I wasn't able to do it for the February round, of course, because we were living in an apartment. And now we have the new Publish and Thrive will be launching next month. And so I'm not sure if I'll be able to re-record everything, but part of the course will be redone. So the redo may not happen completely until February, but at least part of it will be new for this next round. Okay, so let's go ahead and do another giveaway since we're a little bit more than halfway through. So the next I'm going to announce 2 giveaways. One giveaway is just going to be in the comments. So the giveaway, like in the comments here for the live stream, is for your choice of writing software. So you can choose between Scrivener, which is something that you have to download to a computer, I believe. You might be able to use it on an iPad, but I'm not 100% certain. So Scrivener would be one choice. Plotter would be another choice. So this would be for Plotter Pro, which is their like lifetime updates, I think it's called. It's basically a plotting timeline. I've got a video coming on that. Or 1 year of Pro Writing Aid, which is kind of like a grammar checker type editing software for yourself. So those are 3 different choices, and you'll get to choose whichever one you prefer. So I'm going to go ahead and just pick a winner. And if you have just won something, then I will not pick you. So Allie P, you are the winner. So if you already have Scrivener, then you can pick either Plotter, or you can pick Pro Writing Aid. So just email me at sarah@heartbreathings.com, and I will send that to you. So probably what I'll do is I'll send you either PayPal, or we'll figure it out. So that's the first one. Another giveaway that we're going to do is going to be for the replay. So for anybody that's made it this far into the replay, and for anybody who's here live, once the video is over, you can come back and comment. I'm going to be giving away a $100 Erin Condren gift card, which is a gift from Tori over at Erin Condren team, that she wanted to give that away to everybody here, or to one winner here, as a congratulations on hitting 50K. So I'm not going to choose that winner now, but I will choose it in the comments, and I will choose that. Let's say today is Thursday. So I'll choose that winner on Sunday from the comments on the replay. So yes, that was very nice of them to do that. All right. So by far the biggest number of questions that came in are about writing, like writing advice, stuff like that. So I'm just going to pick a few of them, and then we're going to move on to some of the other type questions. So Jane asks, how do you keep the plot of a dynamic series over several books going? So, each book has its own piece. And when you're writing a dynamic series, like a series that you have to read in order, not a standalone series, but a series where, like, in order to understand book 3, it's more like one long continuation of a story, kind of like my Demon series, or like Harry Potter, or like Wheel of Time or Game of Thrones, those kinds of books. Each book has its own piece of the puzzle. And when I was writing Shadow Demons, I couldn't see the whole puzzle, like in terms of the entire plot, but I knew that there was an overarching organization called the Order of Shadows. And I knew that bringing them down was going to be the main shape of this entire series. That was going to be the whole thing. And so each book plays into the role of bringing down another piece or failing in another piece of bringing down the Order of Shadows. And so each book has all those multiple layers. So I think when it comes like, how do you keep the plot going, is you have to really think about what's the overarching eagle eye view of that plot. And then how does each book lead us a little bit further into it? So it's kind of like you've got the overarching plot, and then each book has its own plot that has to reveal a piece or play some part in that overarching plot. But that could be a whole series of videos in and of itself. So Janice said, I've been hearing a lot about a second draft. Would this most likely be starting from scratch, just knowing what you know now about the story? I get so confused on what I should be doing after I finish the story. I know I need to do edits, but does this mean I have to start over from scratch? So I do have a series of videos here. At this point, I'm over 300 plus videos. And I think that some of those older ones, maybe I need to freshen them up. So let me know in the comments if you think that would be good to like have a new series on plotting or a new series on editing that kind of takes what I've learned so far and some of the new questions, because I think some of those need to be updated, but there is a video series on editing. So when you're writing a second draft, what people usually mean by that is they're taking their first draft, which is usually a really rough draft, and you're taking all the messy pieces of it and you're trying to imagine it, but you don't necessarily need to start over. What most people do is they go through the draft as it is, and then they get that eagle eye view of like, okay, what in this story is working, what needs to change. And then they go through piece by piece, chapter by chapter, and they work in the new stuff. They will edit what you have, and then you'll be writing some new stuff and editing some old stuff. But definitely would recommend that you go check out that How to Edit a Novel series, because there's a lot of info there. But really, editing is similar to writing in that you kind of have to figure your own plot or your own process, because some people, every writer kind of has their own process when it comes to editing. But I would say most people, when they're working on a second draft, it's not that they are starting from scratch. They are just taking what's there and making it better. The same thing you would do on a like a research paper or something that you're doing. So Kirtana Anand says, I'm not able to plot my book. Every time I think it's done and start writing, things change. How do I complete my book? Listen, this happens to everybody. It happens to me too, that you can plot the whole thing out and then the characters have a mind of their own, or the story goes in a new direction. And I actually have gotten to a point where I get excited when something different happens on the page, because it usually means something good is about to happen. Like a new character appears that I wasn't expecting. And I think really it's just a mindset shift of saying, the story is going to change and grow. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to discover that story, like you were uncovering, an ancient artifact. You're approaching it from different ways. You're cleaning it up. You're really starting to see it. But when you're plotting, you can't always see every little detail. So when you start writing, it's going to naturally change. It always happens. And so in order to complete your book, you have to just, every time there's a massive change, you have to stop and say, is this the right direction for it? And where do I go from here? So if it's changed significantly, is this where I want to go? And then what's the next step? And then you're going to have to kind of plot and replot as you go. But the key is just not to give up on yourself, because it's like, I had this whole thing worked out and it changed, because it's literally 90% of writers are going to be in that situation. So just tell yourself, this is normal. It's going to change. Where do I go from here? And that's going to get you to a better place. All right. It's going to kind of skip forward. I had an anonymous question. Do you think it's possible for an author to succeed without doing any social media or advertising? So yes and no. I think that it's harder for an author to succeed if you don't at least do some type of, you don't have some way to get your book out there. If you just put your book up on Amazon or Google or, all the different vendors, and you don't have any way to like promote it or reach readers, or you have nothing that's kind of feeding into that book, unless it's like super, super trendy and just gets caught in some kind of algorithm, it's unlikely that you're going to have the level of sales that you could have had otherwise. That being said, I think that you can create a really solid strategy where you don't really have much social media presence other than just, here's where you can find my books kind of thing, but you're not like posting daily on Instagram. You don't even have to have an Instagram. But it's important to have a website. And I think that it's important to have some sort of either content marketing where you have a blog or somewhere that you're getting readers or gaining trust or authority in your subject or whatever, or to start advertising in some small way. That doesn't mean you have to do Amazon ads or Facebook ads. It could just be that you do newsletter ads like BookBubs or FreeBooksy or things like that. But I think that it is, it's really kind of difficult to, in this very crowded market, just put your book up for sale and expect the sales to come to you. But I don't think you have to have a huge social media presence to make that happen. So how soon did you start your website and your writing career? So I actually started my website before I started my writing career. I started a blogspot, which is, I think it's called Blogger now, but it was like Google Blogspot. It was free back then, called the Sweetie Chronicles. And I blogged every single day to basically get into a habit of being a writer. And I found readers that way. And I started connecting with other authors and commenting on their blogs and things like that. So I started that website, even though it was like a free blog, long before I started my writing career. And then when I started adding my books, I just added tabs to that had links to my books. And then I went through later and created sarracannon.com, which I probably started that maybe a year or two into my writing career and then transferred my blog over. But for me, I used that blog as a way to kind of connect with fellow authors and readers before I started my actual like book publishing. All right, let's see. And I kind of skip through again. We have 9 minutes. I know we can go over, but I also know I didn't want to go too far over for those of you that made plans. But let's see. What Michelle says, what do you think is the most important thing for an aspiring or new writer to know about writing? And I really just want to say, similar to what I was saying before, is it's so important to understand that figuring out how to write is a process, and finding yours is part of your job. But like nobody, I think a lot of people think that if you're a natural writer, then you should just be able to sit down and a book just flows out of you and you should just intuitively know how to do it all. But then when you sit down and you can't do it, you start to doubt yourself because you're like, it seems so easy for everybody else. I have all these ideas. How come I can't get them onto paper? And I think it's just so, so important to know that writing is a craft. It's a process. It's something you practice and you get to know and you get to work on for a while. So finding yours is going to take time. So be patient, watch what other people are doing, try things out, try it on like you're trying on clothes and see if it works for you. And gradually you'll begin to piece together what works for you and what doesn't. But like you wouldn't sit down today and expect to learn how to play the piano on day one, the same way that somebody plays a piano at a concert, right? Like a professional pianist. You would have to learn how to read music. You would have to learn what notes go with which thing. And it would take maybe years to learn how to do that the same way that a professional does. So give yourself that same grace when it comes to learning how to be a writer, right? Don't expect yourself to sit down and just be amazing at it right from the start. So that's an important thing. Kimberly said, how do you know when your world building is complete? Is it ever complete? Is it ever really done? I don't know. I think that getting it complete enough to start writing means that you know the basic rules of your world. Like what's going on with the government, what's going on with your character, what's going to be the day-to-day things that are going to affect your character. In order for you to start writing, what's the day-to-day things that are happening in their world? If they're a witch, how does that magic affect them? If it's a dystopian future, how does that play into where they are in society and that sort of thing? So I think it's okay to continue building your world as you're writing, but I also think it's good to have those like things put into your day-to-day character, right? I'm not explaining that correctly. Think about what you need to know to write that character effectively and what needs to go into that world. But I feel like world building is such a complex thing because it depends on your genre, obviously, like how much of it you need to have figured out ahead of time. But I think it's like knowing the rules of the magic system, the rules of the government and society, and figuring out what affects your character on a day-to-day basis is enough to get started. And again, it can change, right? Don't feel like whatever you set up in the beginning is what it has to be. But the important thing to remember is that it can't really change after it's published unless you have some reason why it changed. So that's once you finish that first book, it should hopefully begin to solidify more of the world for you at that point. All right. So Hannah says, what are your thoughts and tips on self-accountability? I am always more productive when I have an accountability partner checking in once a week, but for their own personal reasons, they can't participate anymore. I find myself not getting anything done for weeks to months, and I feel guilty knowing I should be working on my books. Do you have any tips for holding oneself accountable and not falling off the creative wagon? You know, I do have a few tips because I also work much better when I have an accountability partner. And over on my Discord server, I don't know if I have my Discord server linked below, but if not, you can head over to my Sarra Cannon channel or my Sarra Cannon Instagram, and there is a link to that Discord server. But we're about to start an accountability channel where we're going to check in with each other every day. So feel free to come join us over there. But when you're just by yourself, one of the biggest things that works for me is having it be visual. Visual accountability is kind of like having outer accountability for me. So having a Kanban board, having something physically on my desk that I'll share some things that I'm doing with you guys coming up soon, but like having a piece of paper on the wall where you mark down your word count every day and seeing it right in front of your face, that visual accountability, however that looks to you, can be super helpful. Another thing would be having rewards. I've talked about this before, but like sometimes having something that you know you're working toward is good. Sometimes it can also work to have accountability in the fact that you have to give something up if you don't do it. And you kind of, it's self-accountability, but it can be like, okay, I know that on Friday night, I really want to go out for date night, or I want to go and have a couple glasses of wine, whatever. If I don't hit my 5,000 words by Friday night, I can't go out. And giving yourself those kinds of rewards or consequences can sometimes help self-accountability, and just really making it clear what you're trying to accomplish rather than being like, I want to write this week, but being like, I am going to write 3,000 words and here's exactly when I'm going to do it. And I'm going to put it up on the wall and I'm going to make sure that I check it off. And that can be really helpful. Yeah. Checklists are amazing for sure. And having it be visual for sure. Okay. So I wish I could answer all of these questions, you guys. We do have, I think, one more. Oh, I do have one more giveaway coming too. So just hang on with me for just a little bit longer. Okay, moving on to mindset and work-life balance. Jordan Bridger says, how do I sustain my mindset no matter what's going on around me? So I think that it's hard to expect yourself to maintain a positive mindset no matter what, because gosh, there's a lot of things that can happen that can really affect our mental health. And sometimes as much as we want to have control, it's just impossible to maintain a positive mindset at all times. So first of all, try not to hold yourself to that kind of standard, but instead focus on how can I quickly bounce back when my mindset slips. And I think that would be a better place to focus for a lot of us. And for me, one of the things that works is not only having somebody that I know I can talk to, like my husband, or even if it's just my journal that I know I can sit there and put all my thoughts into that one place. Having very clear goals helps me with my mindset a lot of times too. But gosh, I wish I could talk about this for a lot longer, but I think the best thing that I can just say is maybe stop focusing on trying to maintain a positive mindset all the time, because I think that is a very difficult thing to sustain. And instead, come up with your tools of, when I'm in a bad place, how do I pull myself out of it, and start focusing on those things. And I think that might put you in a better place. So several people asked basically what question just came up as well, of how do you write and balance your time when you have kids at home? And for one thing, I have help at home. My husband does not have a job, and his job is helping out with the family. And he does do his own things in terms of he designs Roblox games. But he doesn't have a traditional job. And so I'm super, super lucky. But that was not the case. When I first started writing, I didn't have kids. But in 2012, when Andrew was born, which still blows my mind that he's almost 10, I had to figure out a way to be writing with George gone, full-time job, and a little baby at home. And it was really, really tough. And so one thing is just kind of understanding that you might be in a season of life where it's not going to be as easy to just find lots of time to write. Number two, I think sometimes people just say, well, make it a priority. And if it was a priority, you would do it. And it's like, well, how many priorities am I allowed to have? Because right now I'm about full to the max. So I hate to say make it a priority, because that doesn't really work. But what I would say instead is figure out your non-negotiable time. And this is what really works for me a lot, is to say, okay, I can't do it all, but this is my non-negotiable time. Nobody talks to me from, whatever it is. When Andrew was a small baby, it would be as soon as George walked in the door from work. And I know that it's hard for him to just go straight to taking care of a baby, but I've had him all day, and you can have him for a little while. So at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, when George would come home, it would be like, I have 1 hour of my own time that I'm going to sit down and write. And then as soon as I would get Andrew to bed at night, I would say, I've got 1 other hour and I'm going to sit down and write. And these were my non-negotiable times. And like, whether I felt like it or not, I sat down and I got some work done. And some days it would just be journaling, or some days it would be self-care time instead of actual writing, but that was my me time. And so if you have the possibility of having that time for yourself, that you say, this is my non-negotiable time, and you cannot mess with me during this time, and really becoming a habit, making a habit out of it, that can be super, super helpful. But, as cheesy as it sounds, like HB90 is, I'm not trying to be a salesperson here, but like HB90 is the way that I began to cope with this, because this didn't start as a course. It started as, this is the way that I'm managing my time. And so what I did was I created 3 goals. Really at the beginning, I had 4 goals. I had 3 work goals and a career, like a life goal. Right. And so I've narrowed it to 3. So I kind of keep 1 Sarra Cannon career goal, 1 Heart Breathing's career goal, and then 1 personal goal. And that personal goal is where all of the like house cleaning and getting the renovations done, or setting things up. That's where all of that comes in. And so for me, it's just a matter of sitting down, figuring out what my schedule is going to be and where I can find time. But unfortunately, like, I do know that it's not as simple as it sounds when you have a full-time job and you have kids and you're a single mom or whatever. When it comes to that, I think it's less about trying to find balance, because balance is going to be really hard to come by, and instead trying to focus on grace and saying, this is the season of life that I'm in. I'm going to try to carve out this time for my writing, or this time for myself, and everything else will just come when it comes. And I'm going to give myself grace, and I'm not going to look at, Sarra and her full-time writing career and be like, I have to be like her. I'm going to just allow myself to be the best I can be with the 5 hours a week that I have. And that is just going to have to be the way it is, and really begin to love yourself for the time that you do have. There's so much I want to say. So one final question, then we're going to do one final giveaway, and I'll take a few. If you guys want to hang out, I'll take a few more questions just from the chat. Is Shannon asked, you've mentioned before about having a narcissistic mother. I also grew up with a narcissistic mother and grandmother. Even though they both passed years ago, I still struggle with their voices in my head, saying you can't do anything. I almost feel as if I'm disrespecting them by advancing or making more money than they did. How do you get past that to create the life and career of your dreams? Man. You know, I still struggle with those voices too. And I had a therapist once that was like, pick something really small on your desk. So, you know, like I have this little crystal. So I'm going to pick this little small crystal on my desk. And when you start to hear that voice and it's yelling really, really loud in your brain that like, you're no good, you're ugly, you can't do this, you're taking away from me, you think you're, one of the things my mom always used to say was like, who do you think you are? Get off your high horse. That was like something I heard all the time. And so what my therapist told me to do is when you start to hear that voice really loud in your head, start to imagine it shrinking down until it's this big. And then you just put it in a drawer and you lock it away, or you just look at it and you say, you're tiny, you know? And I know that sounds so simple, but it really has helped me because what I've really come to understand is those voices in my head that it's like they were her voice. And now it's become my own voice because it's in my head all the time. That is a lie. That voice is a lie. And if I really go looking for proof of why I'm worthy and why I'm deserving and how I'm great and good-hearted, it's like, I know my heart. I know I'm a good person. I know that I strive to help people. And anybody telling me that I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy is just either just their opinion or they're just flat out lying to me because they want to hold me back. And so whenever I think of that and it feels really big, I try to make it really small like this. And I say, this is not going to have power over me anymore. I'm just not going to let it. And I have to do that on an almost daily basis. It's not like it's just gone at any point to start making your dreams come true. But if you can make those negative voices this small, and instead make your dreams and your goals this big, put them on your wall, make a big board out of it, tell yourself that this is going to be your life and surround yourself with it. It's like, I have gone from having a tiny little Kanban board to having 3 huge boards on the wall that I'm staring at anytime I'm sitting at this desk. And I can say, this little voice is tiny compared to those big dreams. And I am going to make them happen because I deserve it. And anyone who's not going to stand with me can just get out. And sorry. Why do I have anything coming through when I have my do not disturb on my phone just keeps popping off for some reason. I'm saying something important, Walmart. I don't need your sale notice coming through. But for me, I think that that's the big thing. Is like, I just make my dreams. Like I keep telling myself that whatever is desired by me is destined for me. And this is not going to hold me back. And so I just keep imagining that voice shrinking down. And I remind myself that it is not true. And it really is just a daily process. And, you know, every dream that you hit, your tiny Walmart, I love that. Every dream that you hit, you might also hit a point where you say, it's still not good enough, right? That's another thing when you've been dealing with narcissists or were raised by narcissists, it's never good enough. No matter what you accomplish, even if it was your biggest dream, like this dream house, it's still not good enough. It still doesn't prove I'm good because look, there's somebody else who has more subscribers than me or somebody else who has a better life. And I have to understand that is like, I have to say, I will not listen to that right now. That is not what I want to listen to. And it's really a practice in managing your own mind. And it's not going to be easy, but becoming aware of when those voices are not your own and learning to push them aside and say, I hear you, but you're not telling the truth. You're confined now to this rose quartz and you're going to sit on my desk and I'm going to instead listen to my heart. That is important. And that's really what's been getting me through. So hopefully you find that helpful as well. So I'm not going to scroll back, but if you have any other questions and you're willing to hang out for a little bit longer, feel free to come and stay. we have so many more questions that didn't get answered. Plus, I'm sure there's a lot of people here that have questions that you would like to answer that you didn't get a chance. And so let's do it again. Feel free, like I said, come join my Sarra Cannon channel over on YouTube. We read books over there, some of my own books, but we also just talk about life. Now, we do talk about more like tarot cards and some witchy stuff over there. So if that's not your thing, then either just come and enjoy it as being something different, or it might not be your thing, like manifesting and different stuff like that. But if you think that would be cool, and we do talk about writing in books, so come join us over there. Those are every Friday at 4 p.m., same time, but just on Fridays. But let's do another one about writing. And I do have some more writing series coming up. So we're going to have an entire series that I've been working on for the last 2 weeks about how to write scenes that keep your readers engaged. And I'm thinking about doing a new set of books on, or set of videos on how to plot and how to edit, kind of refreshing those old ones now that I've kind of learned more stuff. So Sammy Cell says, how do you outline your standalone novels compared to your series? So I have a couple series that are more like standalone series, but I don't have any books that are specifically just standalone that don't nothing else exists in the world. But my my Trouble with Goodbye series, which is called the Fair Hope series, is all standalone romances. And when it comes to outlining those, I'm not really thinking so much about the overarching world. The only thing I'm thinking about in those cases is just what character story is coming up next, and what can I sort of plant into the story that will make people want to read that person's story. But when it comes to the actual book, the plot is, for me, it's been so much easier because you can just focus on this one set of characters and this one problem. And so I think that's the biggest difference in terms of outlining the standalone versus outlining a series, is with the series, you know, you've got subplots and story threads and things that are going to go for multiple books. Whereas when it comes to a single book, a standalone, it needs to be self-contained. And in some ways it's harder because you don't get as much space to tell the story, but in some ways it's easier that you can just focus only on this one book and having everything, you know, focus. So when I plot, I won't take them down. I promise I won't take them down. When I plot, I always have those story threads in a separate section, so I don't have to do that with a standalone. But I would say I just don't have as much experience writing standalone as I do with novels. All right, so before I keep answering questions, the final giveaway that I'm going to give away today, other than the ones that, so there's 3 for the replay. One is Erin Condren that will happen in the comments here on the replay. The other 2 are in Rafflecopter, which the links should be down below in the description box for you to just go. All you have to do is go and you sign in either with email or Facebook. I'm not collecting your email, so I won't see it later. It's just so that I can email you if you win. And you just have to say that, yes, you were there at the live or that you commented, and you can enter those. But this is going to be the final giveaway for the live stream today is going to be an enrollment in Publish and Thrive coming up in August. So this is a $400 value. And so if I choose you and you have already taken Publish and Thrive, then I'm going to send you your money back. So, all right, I'm going to close my eyes and just go up and say, oh, look, you already won that one before. So we'll go up above. Shannon Nicole Harris. So that's so funny that I picked the same person. Shannon, you have won Publish and Thrive. So, okay, I'll say this. It's $399 to enroll, but if you don't have any interest in necessarily taking that class, then you can take my HB90 class instead. Or if you've already taken Publish and Thrive, I will send you your money back. But congratulations to Shannon. And all you have to do is send me an email at sarah@heartbreathings.com, and I will let you know how to enroll for the August course. So definitely a good one. Oh, you've already taken both. I was like, oh, I think I've seen her name. Okay, so I'm just gonna send you your money back on that, the $399 for the course, and I will talk to you in chat. Maybe we can set up a Zoom call for 30 minutes or something like that to kind of talk through some of your series stuff. All right, so let's take some questions just from the chat. So let's see. Let's see. I know there's got to be some that were up here that I scrolled past. Oh my gosh. There's so many congrats. Okay. If you had a question, go ahead and repost it if you don't mind so that I could go find up. Yeah, it's super hard. So hard to keep up with all the chats. It is, Diana. I'm so excited that we had 400 people here. I had just messaged Renee and said, oh, I wonder if anybody will come. It's going to be, hopefully it'll be cool. Freddie says, what? Oh, this is a good one too. And I always forget exactly. It's like Becca could tell you what mine are faster than I could tell. But Freddie says, how do you stick to your schedule? You know, I think really the key for me is having a small period of time. Like I know exactly what I'm trying to get done in 90 days. And I try not to put more on my plate than those things. I can't ever get it all done in terms of all the things I planned for 90 days, but sticking to the schedule can be really tough. Now, I do have a little series going on right now about how I'm following through with my plans. And I hope that you guys can see an example of the fact that I really don't follow through with everything exactly like I thought I was going to. The plans look so good, but the key is having kind of a container of like, this is what I'm trying to accomplish. And as long as I can keep moving forward, it's okay if I don't stick to my schedule exactly right. But I struggle with routines sometimes for myself. And so I think that it's really just about having the clarity of like, this is the kind of life I'm trying to create for myself. So it's that big vision. And then here's the pieces of it I'm going to try to put together this 90 days. And I'm going to get as much of it done as I can. And when I have low energy days, I just try to do low energy tasks. And when I have really big days where I'm feeling excited and motivated and I'm in a good mood, then I get as much done as I can on the good mood stuff. But I don't really stick to my schedule 100%. And I'm okay with that as long as I keep moving forward. I'm okay with it. So Anna says, what are your top 5 Clifton strengths? So my first is futuristic, strategic, communication, learner, and then I always forget the next one. I know 6 for me is significance, but futuristic, strategic are kind of 2 of the ones that really propel me forward. And then I know communication and learner. And then I always get the next one. It's like, I can't remember it until I look it up. But Becca could probably tell you because she's always like, oh, you're this, but I always forget. What are your thoughts on author tubers being VTubers? So what is a VTuber? Just like a vlogger? I'm not sure what that is. Have you considered translating your books or selling the rights to translate them? So I don't have really any interest in translating my books just because it's so darn expensive. I have a lot of people that have reached out to me like, I'd love to translate your books. But the truth is I have so many author friends that have been scammed or have ended up with people that charge them like $15,000 and then they just used Google Translate. But it's like you need the translator, but then you need someone else that can read it to tell you if the translation was any good. And I think that it's just one of those things that still is really difficult to get done well as an indie publisher. So what I've been thinking about, though it is not set in stone, is really actively looking for an agent who can help me sell some of those subsidiary rights. There are some things in terms of film rights that are in negotiation right now. It's nothing that's like, yay, get excited, super excited, but there is movement on that. And I wonder how much an agent might be able to do for me in terms of foreign rights and different things like that. Google Play has asked me to go with them to the Frankfurt Book Fair before. And so I think that there are opportunities that if I really started to explore, then, we could maybe get more done if I had an agent. So I don't know. It's on my mind sometimes about that stuff. Do you ever find yourself impatient to finish your series and how do you handle it? It's like right now I'm struggling with book 12 because I'm impatient and I wish that it would come together. And so it makes me want to write something else because I'm just like, it's not coming together fast enough. But I also then would feel guilty if I started writing something else because that's what I'm supposed to be writing. So yes, I do find myself impatient. In terms of how I handle it is I just try to power through and say, okay, let's get it. It's all about that kind of like getting that eagle eye view and going up and saying, okay, eagle eye view says, this is the way I need to move forward. What can I do to fall back in love with this and get back to work on it? Because it can be, kind of hard. would you ever consider creating a Sarra Cannon planner like Erin Condren? So I have looked into creating like HB90 into a physical planner. And, there's a lot that goes into it in terms of finding the right printers and everything else. And I just have not had the time to really put into it the way that I would like to. And thankfully, now that Renee's on my team, I think I'm reclaiming some of my more creative time to move into other projects. So it could be something to do. So I don't know. I'm not sure. Yes, I would like to, and we'll see kind of where it goes. Uh, I'm trying to find where if she's told me what a VTuber is. Where is it? I don't know. I don't see it. There's too many comments going by. I'm sorry I missed it. Will you do a series of vlogs on or videos on how to do a writing blog and promote your writing? Yeah, that's actually a really good one. Any tips for ADHD hacks for routine and time management beyond Pomodoro? A lot of people say that HB90 helps them with ADHD. And I have several friends that tell me they think I should get tested for ADHD because a lot of the things that I naturally do for my own like hacks to like putting things visually on the wall and things like that are things that a lot of people use for ADHD. So I would say things like making it visual in terms of post-it note reminders and things like that has been one of the biggest things for me. But I don't know. Did you mention earlier that you made 50K your first year of publishing? How many books did you publish that first year? P.S. This has been so fun. It's good to see you here, Brittany. So I made, I think it was $59,000 my very first year of self-publishing. So that was from October. Basically, I published my first book in October, and that was like all the way through that next year. I didn't really make very much money October and November, December. So that first year, those first 3 months, I didn't really make much. But so from 2011, which was January through December, I already had 2 books published at that point. And then I published 2 additional books that year. Yeah, 2. So at that point, I had 4 books out and made $59,000. But the times are different now. And it is a lot more difficult to get noticed as quickly unless you're like writing super to trend or you're putting a lot of money into advertising. So don't take that as like everybody who starts should start making 50 something thousand. Because the truth is I now have, I don't know, Renee, what was it, like 30 something books that are on my shelves. Like some of them are box sets and different things like that. And I'm only going to make $60,000 this year from my books. And so it's like, I've had years that I've made almost 300,000 and now I'm back down, even though I have all this backlist, to making kind of what I made my very first year of publishing. So that's what I mean by like the ups and downs of it. It's like, just because you have a certain number of books doesn't ever guarantee that you're going to make a certain amount of money or have a certain amount of success. But I'm anxious to see what I'm capable of when I kind of finish out these other series and get a chance to start something new that I can stick with. Because I think part of the magic, not only was it a different time back then, but part of the magic was that I had rapid release in a single series that I did a really good job of marketing right from the beginning and branding really well. And I'm excited to see what might happen when I get a chance to do that again. So we'll see how that turns out for sure. Oh, Heather has the same top too. I've heard people, I think it was Becca was saying there's not a lot of female authors who have futuristic as a number 1, but I could be wrong about that. Oh my gosh, so many questions, you guys. I'm mentioning them. HB90 is $199, or there's a 3-month or a 6-month payment plan. How do I get myself to do things? That is, I feel like, I feel like if I could figure out the answer to that question of like, how do you get yourself to do the things that you most want to do? Like lose the weight, write the books, do the things, whatever it is, I would be a millionaire right now. It's a complicated question. In terms of why not promote the heck out of your backlist, that's also complicated. Just because I've put so much of you only have so much time available, right? And I put so much of my time and effort into Heart Breathings and YouTube and my courses that I just don't have time to promote the heck out of my backlist, especially without a front list coming out. And so there are plans for this. So Q3 and Q4 is going to be a lot of promoting as I'm getting ready for book 12 and for the next book that's coming out after that. So it is coming, but it's kind of like choose your battles. And in a lot of ways, I've had to scale back on my promoting and my writing to be able to build this second career that has been really, really beneficial to me and hopefully thousands of other people. But it's hard to maintain a certain level of success in multiple careers at once. And so it's just been kind of a balance thing. So will you put more content on mental health and how you talk to yourself about against negative dialogue? Yes, I definitely have more stuff that I want to say on that for sure. This seems like a good final question. Can you clone George? My husband, George, is truly amazing. And he has been such a rock for me throughout this whole thing. And it really, if you don't know my story, I wouldn't be a writer or a YouTuber if it wasn't for him, because he was the one who basically was like, I was a teacher and I was miserable. And he says, why, if you move in with me, you can do whatever it is you want to do. What would you want to do? And it was like, I want to be a writer. He's like, all right, let's do this. And so he helped me to take that leap in a big way. And I will forever be grateful for that. So, do you use a digital plotting software like Plotter or just your physical? So they did gift me Plotter. And so I have been playing around with it a little bit, and I really want to, but I feel like I want to start it with a new series because I'm so deep into this other series that I don't have the capacity to put it all into Plotter, but I will be using Plotter for sure. All right. So I think that's all that I'm going to be able to answer. We went for an hour and a half, but I just really appreciate, I feel like we could be here forever. And I'm sorry if I did not make it to your questions, but thank you all so much for being here. It just means the world to me to have this platform to be able to express what I'm able to express and share what I'm able to express. I truly, truly appreciate you guys more than you can know. And if you have had if this channel has meant anything to you, it would really mean a lot to me if you would, continue showing up. Let me know what you want to see from me, because ultimately I'm here to help you guys to get better. That's my whole point of not get better. I want you guys to feel like you're not alone. That is really and truly one of my core values, is to both for my readers and for you all, is just to provide a space where you understand that you're a part of something greater, that you're a part of this larger community of writers and people who are going after their goals and people that want to make, their dreams come true, and knowing that you're not alone, even in your struggles, and that you can show up imperfectly and still find success, even with your trauma or your procrastination or your, things that you feel like are limiting or holding you back. You can still be a hugely successful without being perfect. And I just want to continue to serve you the best way that I can. And so if you have more suggestions, I definitely was highlighting some of the questions that you guys asked as like, ooh, that would make a really good video, or that would make it, so I've definitely got some more video ideas coming from that, but please let me know, in the future, any videos that you have that you want to see, and continue to share. When you find a video that really resonates with you, share it with your friends and followers and other people that you feel like would benefit from it. And that is one of the best ways to give back to me if you would like to do it. But yeah, I love you guys. I really, really appreciate you. Thank you for 50,000. Hopefully we'll be at 60,000 before you know it, and then someday to 100K. Thank you all so much. Yes, we will have a coffee chat tomorrow for those of you that want to come hang out on my Sarra Cannon channel. And yeah, I love you guys. And I just hope that you feel my heart and know how grateful I am for each of you. So don't forget to enter those other 3 giveaways. All you have to do is leave a comment below. After this live stream is over, it will switch to a replay mode and we'll let you comment below. And then there are 2 raffle copters and I'll be choosing those winners next week. Thank you for celebrating with me. And yeah, here's to 60K next, right? All right, you guys, bye for now.